This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, there he is, Ira Winderman. Ira, how are you doing, sir? Good morning.
You know, I'm doing well, Big O, and it's just so interesting, the roller coaster of an NBA season. I mean, here I talked to you early in the week, talked to Clay Ferraro coming off the loss to the Grizzlies, and the world is ending. And then I get to talk to you now after that unbelievable step-up victory over the Milwaukee Bucks, and we're going to talk championship contention today on the Acura Pembroke Pines Report. It's just, you know, I almost, on one hand, want to tell Heat fans to chill out, take a deep breath. It's an 82-game season. But it's kind of fun being on the roller coaster also. I mean, it really is. I mean, as down as Heat Nation was after Monday against Memphis, they're just as up right now going into the Bulls game on Saturday here at FTX Arena. So it's, I think I can safely say this, and it's sort of proven to be the case with the Dolphins also. Oh, it's going to be a wild ride. And it's going to be a wild ride because of injuries, because of COVID concerns, because of an unbelievably competitive Eastern Conference. You don't know where it's going to shake out. If you were to tell me right now, Ira, I believe by the end of the season the Heat will be number 2 in the East behind Brooklyn. You know what? I might agree with you. And if you were to tell me, Ira, with Bam being out till mid-January and Jimmy dealing with this tailbone issue, wouldn't be shocked if they were in the play-in. I could see that also. I'm not sure I know where this is headed, but I know, it's going to be a hell of a ride.
And listen, maybe they need the attitude I had with you the other day. I told you, hey, man, it's a long season. Relax. Take it easy. This is a good time to develop players. And Caleb Martin did his best Rex Chapman, impression the other night of a 39 performance against the Bulls on a shorthanded Heat. And to me, that's what this is all about. And it's what I told you the other day is, hey, let's find out about some of these young guys, man, because these dudes know how to find young people and develop them. It's not just about draft picks anymore with the Miami Heat. It hasn't been like that since Udonis Haslam.
We should learn
our lessons about that. You know what I'm
screw
saying?
Draft choices. I mean, look, league, you can penalize for tampering and take away a second-round pick. Look who they had on the court at the end of the game the other day. I mean, yes, They had P.J. Tucker, who was awesome. They had Kyle Lowry, who was awesome. But they had your close personal friend, KZ Okpala.
Somebody was loose. Somebody was loose.
Max Strus. They had him out there, and Caleb Martin. One, it shows terrific coaching, that Eric Spoelstra can push the right buttons the way he does. But second, it also shows you when you have players who are driven and who live in the moment, like you mentioned, you're open to today's Big O show, that if you live in the moment and you seize the moment, here you're talking about an NFL player passing away at such a young age at 33. You never know what's next. And you talked about living in the moment. This Heat team, for better or for worse, is living in the moment. Caleb Martin had a moment. Max Strus had a moment. And remarkably, KZ Okpala had a moment. So you take those moments and you move on. That's what made it so much fun. I think people love the underdog. This was like 3 backup quarterbacks coming into the game and winning a game, and it made it all that much more special.
All right, but now Caleb Martin has been showing us throughout since he's gotten opportunities. He's done productive things every time pretty much he's been on the court. In fact, I remember you told us a story where you and Eric Reed were like discussing which one of those players were making a bigger impact. And I think Reed was the one that was arguing for Caleb Martin. You were arguing for somebody else. I think it was Gabe or somebody. I forgot what it was. I forgot that discussion. I remember. So Caleb has been in our discussion now for several weeks. So, and we know he's got this 2-way contract stuff. So, I know I'm not trying to get ahead of myself on all of this, but I do want to get a little ahead of myself in a way. How do you look at all of this right now? If you're Eric Spoelstra, are you saying, was this just a flash in the pan, a moment? That's it. It's done. He is what he is. Or, hey, dude, there's something here. Let's build on it.
Yeah, I mean, you appreciate what the player is, but you appreciate the role also. Maybe he's a third down back. Maybe he's your fourth receiver. Caleb Martin in this role fits the role perfectly. And let's be honest with ourselves, Let's assume perfect health. Let's go back to that, okay? So let's assume Bam is starting at center, PJ is starting at the 4, Jimmy at the 3, Duncan at the 2. Stay there with me for now, and Kyle Lowry at the 1. So if Markieff Morris is back and Tyler Hero, of course, is on that bench, and you're probably going to use Dedmon as well, Caleb Martin's going to be your 9th or 10th man in the best of times, not to be unfair to him. And he's perfect in that role, and you need someone in that role. It's going to be interesting. One of my Ask Ira questions at sunsentinel.com was, what happens when everyone's healthy? What do you do with Vincent? What do you do with Strus? What do you do with Martin? One, you offer your thanks that everyone's healthy. You're glad you have those kind of guys in reserve, and you appreciate them for what they are, the 8th and 9th man type. The concern about Caleb Martin only having 26 games left that he could be on the active roster in his two-way contract, I can guarantee you that. Don't want to sound like Charles Barkley here, but I can guarantee the Heat will find a way to keep Caleb Martin. We were in this situation a couple of years ago. Chris Silva was the best big man off the bench. He had a two-way contract. He was running out of days. The Heat converted him to a standard deal. And oh, look at it this way. The Heat have converted now Duncan Robinson, Derek Jones Jr., Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Chris Silva from two-way deals to standard deals. They know what they have. They find a way to keep them. I don't know how Andy Ellisberg's going to do it. I don't know what it's going to do with the luxury tax, but they take care of their own. The Heat mantra has always been, if you take care of us, we take care of you. Caleb roster will be on the Miami Heat roster for the balance of the season. Caleb Martin, no matter what happens there, they'll find a way. I wouldn't sweat that. When you do all that Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra ask, they take care of you.
Okay. KZ Okpala all of a sudden now has shown us a little some here in the last couple of games. And I'm not going to go crazy on anything on KZ, but man, if you wanted to open up a roster spot, and if you wanted to deal a guy, and if you wanted to take advantage of these injuries right now, well, maybe you want to play KZ as much as possible. So if he can continue to shine, then all of a sudden you might be able to move him and open up that roster spot that you probably desperately need. Or are we building on something here with KZ Okpala from the initial plan? How do we view all of this?
You have to be more than a once-a-month player. If you did one really good show a month, you probably wouldn't have had those 6 million hits that you've gotten so far. You've got to be more. You've got to be more than once a month. So, and also the game.
That's why I say play him now, trade him.
No, exactly. You always talk about trade when the value is high. Well, Okpala's value has never been higher than his best game in 2 years or so in a meaningful game. Not ended the season in Detroit, not in Oklahoma City, but it's something that really
Garbage
matters.
Time. It wasn't. No, it was real. It was real.
This mattered. This was Milwaukee. This was the top team. But it's what I mentioned about the East being so competitive, Big O. You can't take time to showcase players. You can't take time to go heavy into development during the season. Look at where the Heat are right now. I mean, they were in 4th place. They were like a game and a half out of 2nd place. And they're 2 games out of not being in the playoffs. All these games matter so much. So you can't have a throwaway moment. You can't turn to Dan Craig on the bench or Caron Butler and saying, hey, should we play the kid a little more? I heard there's a scout from Team X out there. You don't do that. The bottom line is if the Heat needs someone who can give them something more than KZ Okpala, they will find a way to get that player on the roster. Optimally, you want to do 2 things. You want to find a way to get Caleb Martin a full contract and probably sign him for another year or 2 on your favorable terms, while you can, while he's sort of in your window. It's like baseball with a player who's non-arbitration eligible or something like that. And you probably want to add another player unless, and here's the name that you and I speak about once a week or at least once a month, Victor Oladipo. You have this unknown, unseen. I mean, we haven't even seen him shooting before games. Even Markieff Morris is shooting on the main court before games. So what we need to do is we need to get a look at this guy and see what he can do. Maybe your 2 moves are this: taking care of Caleb Martin in the 15th roster spot that's available and saying, thank you, Victor Oladipo, for finally showing up and being ready to play. If you give me anything that's close to Victor Oladipo was in Indy or Houston, you're in great shape. You're probably adding something better than any other team at the trade deadline. But if he's not, and he's always going to be injured, and he can't get in the court, and he's protecting his free agency for next summer, you probably need a +1, because for all the moments that Max Strus and KZ Okpala and Gabe Vincent give you, they're sometimes players. Sometimes they can give you something special. I mean, no offense to Gabe Vincent. And then there's some nights you didn't even know he was on the court. If you're a playoff contender, you need someone who every single night you throw him out there in reserve, he can give you something. You have that from Tyler Hero. You probably have that from Markieff Morris. You're hoping to have that from Dwayne Dedmon. You need one more. Maybe it's Caleb Martin. Maybe it's player X who arrives, or maybe it's Victor Oladipo. You probably need two of those three.
All right, I'm going to ask you a two-layered question here, and it's kind of I might be completely off on this. You may see it the same way. I don't know, but that's the beauty of sports. Right now, the what I love about watching a Caleb Martin do something, Max Strus do something, Casey Okpala help you out, Gabe Vincent help you out, and even if you can get anything from Yurtsevin every once in a blue moon, not just the development part, but without Butler and Bam, you're putting more pressure on everybody else to perform. And a lot of it then starts to lean into Lowry because he is the legitimate third star on this team.
Sure.
But the way I kind of look at it, where he's at right now in his career, again, here's where we might disagree, not you, maybe, or somebody else out there listening. I don't believe Lowry's the guy that can carry you offensively every night anymore, like he used to in Toronto, with DeRozan. I don't think he's that guy. I don't know if he can do it efficiently every single night. Plus, if you put the burden while Jimmy and Bam are out on Lowry to carry you offensively, I think that puts more of a wear and tear on the young man, on the older man,
Not so young.
and his body, all that stuff. So for me right now, the beauty of watching those young guys, and you desperately need, obviously, Hero's been doing his part. Duncan has not. But these kind of guys really have to step up and complement Lowry, because I think the best Lowry for the Miami Heat right now, even when Bam and Jimmy are in or out, I still believe the best Lowry is the guy that runs the show, that facilitates, that controls, that gets some garbage baskets here or there. But if you need him to be going to the hole constantly and hitting that three constantly and all of that, I'm sorry, dude. That was 7 years ago. You can't do that anymore to this guy. So you tell me how you look at this. Is this what they need? They need the young guys to kind of carry and him be the orchestrator, or do you feel that Lowry needs to carry the weight a lot more and the burden a lot more offensively with the two big guys out?
Yeah, I don't think we've seen all game scorer Kyle Lowry in, like you said, 7 or 8 years. Think about it. DeMar DeRozan was the scorer. Then after DeMar DeRozan was traded, it was Kawhi Leonard. Then Fred VanVleet came into his own and Toronto. So Kyle was secondary. I think, what you saw in the Milwaukee game is what you get from Kyle offensively. Caleb Martin carried the team in the first half. Kyle Lowry had a huge third quarter to keep the Heat afloat. Then Max Strus came on and had his all or nothing. It was all in the fourth quarter. Right. So I think what you should do is you could say, we're going to get spots from Kyle Lowry. We're going to get a big quarter. We're going to get a scoring run. But we're not going to get 48-minute, or if he plays 36-minute, Kyle Lowry is a scorer. He hasn't been that in probably a decade or so. And you appreciate that. It's interesting when you talk to him about him as the third wheel on this team when healthy, with Bam and with Jimmy. I think it's a big four with this team. I think Tyler Hero is there also. So
you're right.
I think most of these nights, Tyler Hero, and he has been often this season, the fourth quarter guy. Now, he wasn't there last game. He didn't play at the end. And that's kind of ballsy by Eric Spoelstra. Most guys, even if a guy's not scoring, you'd still go back to them. Eric didn't. He stayed with KZ. He stayed with Strus. He stayed with Caleb, and it worked. Tyler was fine with that. He's becoming more of a team player. He can deal with that. So, yes, at 35 years old, if you are going to lean heavily, nightly on Kyle Lowry, you're going to destroy the blueprint you created, which was have him ready for the playoffs. Same thing with PJ Tucker, who was awesome against the Bucks, but he's 36 years old. This is the yin and the yang we're going to have through mid-January until Bam comes back. We're going to have until Jimmy Butler is fully healed from that tailbone. We're going to have to a lesser degree until Markieff Morris is over his whiplash and he can come back. Is you have to rely more on PJ and Kyle than you ever thought you would with a 36 and 35-year-old, but you can't do it too much. That's why I've used these two words now since Bam went down: treading water. Just stay afloat right now. Right. For example, horrible game against Memphis, really good game against Milwaukee. So let's extrapolate the schedule out further. You have Chicago here on Saturday. Now they're depleted by COVID. That helps. You go to Cleveland on Monday. They kick your ass last time. They're a tough matchup for you with their length. You go to Philadelphia. Joel Embiid has been MVP-like. Then you have games in Orlando and Detroit. My perfect world, not a perfect world, my acceptable world would be this. Get the game against Chicago to make it a 2-1 homestand. Split the next road trip. Maybe you lose in Cleveland and Philly, then you win in Orlando and Detroit, and you're fine. You're staying afloat. Now, Eric Spoelstra will never say, we're leaving for a road trip on Sunday, and I hope to go 2-2. Nor would I ever expect Eric Spoelstra to say that. But I think that's where you are right now. You tread water, you stay afloat, you get your road games out of the way, and oh my God, I mean, the Heat are home so much the second half of the season. I'll probably see you down at Acura Pembroke Pines. I'll probably be there in your dungeon studio. I'm not going anywhere. So I think you just survive now. The Heat's going to have a move. Matter of fact, you can tape this, have it ready on YouTube somewhere. The Heat will have a stretch where they'll win 8 of 9 or 9 of 10 over the second half of the year because the schedule opens wide open for them as long as there's not injury or illness.
Good stuff as always. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Ira, I know eventually he'll figure it out. This happens a lot of times with guys that sign big deals and all that stuff. So I know that Duncan will eventually figure it out. But I will say this. The more I see Strus, and if he can develop the kind of shot that's consistent, because he definitely can shoot the three, he just brings so much more moxie to the defensive side of the court. He will sell out his body. He's just he has a desire to play defense a lot more than Duncan does. And so if you're Spo, how much are you looking at this going, maybe I need to develop this a little bit more just in case I need to break glass. You know what I'm saying? Just in case.
Absolutely. And he did that in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
why
That's right. Okay. All right.
We get all these Heat fans who go to you and I, they should bench Duncan. You don't need to do anything that dramatic. It's still more about closing time anyway. You didn't hear any complaints from Duncan about not playing the fourth quarter. Max Strus was unbelievable. Plus, there's a couple of other factors in play. Starting next Wednesday, I believe it's 9 players who signed for the Heat in the offseason become trade eligible. I'm not saying there's going to be a major trade. Working on my Sunday column at sunsentinel.com on that, but at least the door opens. Duncan is different because he signed for a significant raise from his minimum scale contract. He's not trade eligible until January 15th. Now, I'm not starting the whole aggregators, at the starting gate here. The Heat are trading Duncan Robinson. But that's when the door opens for the Heat.
Right.
That's when they can consider it. That's maybe where you save some of the salary we're talking about for the luxury tax. You trade Mr. $15 million for Mr. $11 million. I think Max Strus has created a lot of interest there. The Heat are very good about their value contracts. Matter of fact, right now, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I hope we're not going too long here. But this is our Friday Acura Pembroke Pines quiz. Value contracts, okay? I'm going to give you 3 names. You tell me which is the best Miami Heat value contract.
Okay.
Max Strus on the minimum, Caleb Martin on a 2-way, which is half the minimum, or PJ Tucker on the $7 million mid-level. Which one? Matter of fact, put them in order. Put them in order from most to least value from those 3.
The priorities are different. The jobs are different.
But I'm talking about value related to dollars spent. I'll play the Jeopardy music.
Well, no, I still have to go PJ because he adds everything to the defense, the attitude, everything, confidence. He just adds so much. He can get their best player on the opponent's side and frustrate the hell out of the guy.
Exactly. For $7 million a year.
For $7 million, that's nothing. And then I gotta go Strus because I haven't seen enough Caleb yet.
Sure.
I love what I'm seeing from Caleb. But then I have to go Strus number 2 and then Caleb.
Right. So if you're talking about $7 million for PJ, 1.6 for Max Strus, 450,000, I believe, is the number for Caleb Martin. I mean, think about that. That you're talking about $9 million, a little more than half of Duncan's salary and the value you're getting. So as much as Heat Nation is lamenting what Duncan's being paid, because for some reason we all focus on money, the bottom line is the Heat are making it up on the back end. That if you
Right.
think they overpaid on one end, they're finding value on the back end, and they've always done that. Whether it's the Derrick Jones Juniors, whether it's these other players, even the Gabe Vincents and guys like that. So don't stress too much about the Duncan money, because in the big picture, I think the Heat have a value roster, at least at the moment right now. Maybe we'll question Bam a little later in the season. But the point being, they have found a way through the maneuvering by Andy Ellisberg, Adam Simon, Nick Harrison to sort of get this whole thing level anyway, so they can endure maybe another player underproducing. But it really is remarkable what they've gotten from the back end of the roster. And that's what you need to stay afloat. Then Bam has to be great when he comes back. Jimmy has to be great when he comes back. Kyle Lowry has to be playoff Kyle Lowry. Tyler Hero has to be six-man award contender. You're going to be in a really good place then.
It's going to be fun, man. Let's see what they do against Chicago. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Make sure you check out his work there at the Sun Sentinel. More importantly, subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel and support Ira and all the great writers there. Ira, as always, thank you, sir. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the basketball. We will catch up next week.
And next Friday's quiz will be, you'll have to rate your dogs in order from favorite to least favorite. So I leave you with that, Big O.
Hope my wife doesn't see that segment. All right, Ira. See you later. Be good. Ah, yes. The Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat, an NBA report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.